Hello, Michael Yan here. It's almost 1800 Chiang Mai time here in Thailand, 1758 local time. Just a couple things. I just got off an interview with a Chinese dissident organization. They have set up a government in exile, and so I've been talking with them the last hour and a half. And tonight I'll be doing another interview with Gordon Chang and John Batchelor. But in the meantime, I wanted to say a few things, especially to law enforcement. And this will be very short, and I'll try to answer a few questions, and I'll get off pretty quickly, hopefully. Now, I'm clearly on law enforcement side. We all recognize that not everybody's a good guy, but just like not everybody in the Army is a good guy. But overall, I can compartmentalize, and a lot of us can. I think most of us can compartmentalize quite well. Almost everybody knows cops or has cops in their family, or that sort of thing, and so and I think we can do that. Let me make sure the sound is going out, and then I'm going to explain a few things that I think can be quite helpful before I come home to the United States. Let me turn on the comments, see if hey Stephen, hey Nathan, if you can hear my sound good. I'm about to get started. I think you got it. Okay, all right. Now on my last video, I explained a couple of things about hey in Australia, hey Jan. I explained a few things about insurgency, and it's quite clear. Sound is good. Okay, I'm gonna hey Pam and Kim and Paul. All right, so I'm gonna cut off the comments right now so they don't distract me, and then I'll get back to them later and try to answer some. So it's actually clear that we've got an insurgency going in the United States, at least on some level, at least with BLM and Antifa. And so how big will it go? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing, that especially with BLM, whoever is behind them, whether it's, I think it's more than just the Democrat Party. I think it's much more than that. But whoever is advising them is totally expert on information warfare. I can see it. It's crystal clear. They're top notch. Somehow in the background, they've got the best information warriors that money can buy or that politics can buy. And so that's what we're up against. And information warfare, don't ever discount how important that is. That's worth an entire Navy and Air Force. It's very important. As you can see, why everybody just jumped out on the streets. So, all right, I'm going to explain a few things, and I'll answer questions. Now, this is specifically for law enforcement, but it can help a lot of people frame what's going on here. As I explained in my last video, there are certain components in an insurgency that you can, if you know what you're looking for, you can see them quite readily. So I'm going to draw something out here, and I'm going to show you what this battleground is for and how police and others can start winning battles today. And I know a lot of people are already winning battles. All right, so there's my pie chart. It's a perfect circle. Uh-oh, I have to switch screens. There's my pie chart. It's a perfect circle. Let me try to make it more perfect. All right, I'm drawing on this iPad, and it's off at an angle here. All right, so pretend that's a perfect circle. And as I explained on a previous video, this is your guerrilla force. This is like Special Forces 101, right? Or old school anyway. So there's your guerrilla force, GF. That's your full-time, I'll re-explain this. That's your full-timers. That's your full-time guerrilla force. That's the ones who, that's what they do 7 days a week. Those are like your leadership and just full-time fighters. Now, most of the people you'll see out on the streets are from local neighborhoods. So that'll be your auxiliary, right? That's called auxiliary. Ox, or we'll often we'll just call them ox. Let me put a better A. It's hard for me to write because it's over here off at an angle. All right, ox, A-U-X. And so the auxiliary is, or in a lot of cases what we've seen is just rioters, right? But they're coming out from the only thing they probably have in mind is stealing some whiskey and, scoring some new tennis shoes and a flat screen. So that's just rioters. But when it comes down to the actual insurgency beyond them, so you got to tune out that noise, that white noise of just the background, the level X noise. that all criminality that always happens in these sorts of situations. You got to try to tune out that and go to the signal. And the signal is a lot of it's happening right here. It's happening with the leadership. And I can see that they are very expertly run. And what the leadership is, whoever is behind the leader, whoever is the real top players here, and they're the ones who know how to run advertising campaigns. They're the ones who know how to get the journalist eating out of their hands. Those are big players. Whoever they are ultra experts. So that's what we're up against. And they just feed through like the Black Lives Matter leadership. They're just figureheads. They're just puppets. But there's somebody above them that knows what they're doing, because I can practically see the hand up their ass. The ones who are leading the Black Lives Matter. They're total puppets. And so this is the battleground. This is what we need to win. This is the support, right? That's the support base. That's what we're really fighting for. And that's what they are fighting for. They're trying to get this support base. This is it. This is the high ground. Whoever controls the most support will win. The support are the ones that vote. They're the ones that support by hitting those PayPal buttons or whatever to get the next Democratic person elected, or whomever. They're the ones that, buys the Tesla for that guy that's pulling weapons out of his trunk over in Chaz. Did you see that guy? I mean, I don't know how he got there. I'm not going to actually make a representation that there's something direct going on there. Maybe it's his own money or whatever. But I mean, but somewhere up above, way up at this level, is are people that are fighting for this. And they're using this. They're using like BLM leadership and BLM figureheads, and maybe somebody separately is actually using Antifa. That might be somebody separate, right? Or it could be overlap, could be the same. I don't know. But so the battleground, though, is for this support, because whoever wins this support is going to, for instance, make billions of dollars for starters. And or even maybe more. Ultimately, it could be trillions over long periods of time, right? Because they're the ones who will win elections, right? These are the ones who will these are the voters. These are you and me. These are the ones who will get the next governor elected to New York or Florida or California, right? These are the ones that get the next president elected, representatives, senators. These are the ones who will be in charge of all kinds of crazy stuff, like CIA, right? I mean, this is our support. So the battle for the support is the real battle. All these people in between, these guys, guerrilla force, that's cannon fodder, dude. They don't mean anything. They're nothing. If they get killed, they mean nothing to whoever these people are. They're irrelevant. These are complete cannon fodder. The BLM leadership, those puppets, they're cannon fodder. However, I mean, those leaders, I mean, they're also gaining support, right? So if they run for office, like if one of the top leaders decides to run for president, he might actually win, because BLM, I don't know about this time, but in some time in the future, because BLM, it looks like to me, has become more powerful than the actual Democrats or the Republicans at this point. Will it be sticky and last? I don't know. But this is what we're battling for right here, is the support. So if you're an officer on the ground and you got thousands of people out there with cameras everywhere, we know how quickly we can lose support. When it came to Iraq, a lot of people might remember Abu Ghraib, the prison scandal, right? Well, that prison scandal, which a lot of people very stupidly write off and go, wow, they deserve to be tortured. Here, let's just skip past all that bullshit that it was a war crime, and let's get to the reality that a lot of us faced on the ground. That recruited a huge amount of support against us. A lot of support that was on our side shifted right over to the other side, and they picked up guns and they started killing U.S. soldiers. And we took huge casualties because of that. Nobody can ever count it, but we took huge casualties because a few knuckleheads, and that wasn't the press that did that, by the way. That was a few knucklehead soldiers, and maybe there was some other things that went on in the background, but they tortured prisoners. They really did. And don't give me bullshit that nobody died, because they did. And some of our soldiers really did rape some of those prisoners, period. It's a fact. If somebody tells you otherwise, shut the door on them. And here's the bottom line. The bottom line is we lost massive support. We lost massive support, and people picked up guns, and they were coming all in from North Africa after Abu Ghraib and all that. A lot of people don't get this. They don't get the effect that had on us on the ground, on our soldiers on the ground. A lot of people started just, they started coming in from North Africa, all over the Middle East, Europe, and the United States to fight us, all because some knuckleheads at Abu Ghraib did some war crimes. They took photos of it, and then they lost the photos somehow. Another soldier got them and gave them to CID, which is, Criminal Investigation Division, which is like the FBI of the Army, I guess you could say it that way. So then here's the auxiliary that we were fighting a lot in Iraq and Afghanistan. And this is, we lost our support base. We had so many people on our side, and then Abu Ghraib happened, and boom, lost a lot of support. So our support went down, and it kept going down, and our support kept going down. So our casualties started going up, because as our support went down, their support went up, and their GF, their guerrilla force went up, and their auxiliary went up, and they became a lot more powerful. But lucky for us, Al-Qaeda and the rest of those savages are savages. So what happened was, after we took shitloads of casualties, thousands killed and wounded, thanks to the idiots who helped fan the flames of the insurgency. But lucky for us, the savages at Al-Qaeda and the rest of them, Mahdi Army and the rest of those guys, especially Al-Qaeda and some of those, well, they started mistreating the local Iraqis, right? And so then we started getting a lot of this support back. And that's why you heard me in 2007 say, I think we're starting to win the war. I said that in 2007 because I could see that our support was increasing. And how did I know that? I knew that because our HUMINT was increasing. Pay attention if you're a cop. This is important. I knew that because our human intelligence was increasing. I could see it with my own eyes. In 2007, I could see our HUMINT was starting to increase dramatically, because I would be out there and people would come give us information. They'd be like, hey, there's Al-Qaeda in that building over there, and we'd go kill them, right, or capture them, right? And it was just, we're getting so much intel. We were starting to get so much intel that the HUMINT was increasing so much. And so when your HUMINT is going up, like that, that's why I'd always ask the intel people. When I go to a new area, I'd be like, hey, how's your HUMINT going? That's my first question. I'm like a doctor that walks into the office, and I'm checking for vital signs. How's your HUMINT going, right? And if they say HUMINT's going like this, I'm like, uh-oh, that means we're losing the patient. And that's what happened after Abu Ghraib. After Abu Ghraib, HUMINT, it didn't go like that. It went like that, right? It went straight down. And then you know where that intelligence went? It went to the enemy. And they started killing us, right? And they started killing shitloads of Iraqis, and they ended up in a civil war. And so, but by 2007, thanks to Al-Qaeda and those other savages, now our HUMINT started to go up again. And so even though, if you remember my interview, it may have been on Hugh Hewitt's show in about August of 2007, we were in Operation Arrowhead Ripper, and he was like, something like, how's it going? I said, I think you could probably find this online because it's probably audio's up there. I said, I want to be, I was going out on a limb saying this because in August of 2007, I think that was the highest casualties of the entire Iraq war. Keep in mind what I just said. I'm on a massive radio program, the Hugh Hewitt Show, that goes out to, 200 stations. I don't know. It's huge. Very well respected. So I'm on the show, and I'm like, something like, you can find it online. I was like, well, Hugh, I think, and I'm thinking, oh man, our casualties are the highest ever, and I'm about to say we're winning the war. So I was like, and I did. And then we were taking huge casualties. And I was like, well, I think we're starting to win. And actually, I strongly thought we were starting to win. And because I could see our human was going up, right? Our human was skyrocketing. And why are we taking so many And people were like, oh, Mike Young's lost his brain. He's saying that we're, starting to win the war at the very month out of, let's see, started in March of 2003. So 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7. August of 2007, I think if you look on iCasualties.com or .org, if it's still up, I think you'll find probably the August of 2007 was the highest casualties ever of the Iraq War. And here I am on my satellite phone talking to Hugh going, and I'm highly cognizant that the casualties are the highest ever. And I'm like, I think we're starting to win the war. And, I knew I was going to get hell for that. And I did, man, all over the internet. Like, Mike Young's lost his brain again. He's got that PTSD going on. Bunch of retards. I don't have PTSD, all right? So I got post-traumatic clown syndrome, right? So here we go. In September, the casualties started to go down. And they started to go down. And they started to go down. So I actually called that when the casualties were the highest. And I'm sitting here on the satellite phone with Hugh Hewitt talking with, I don't know, 1 million Americans probably. I don't know how many. And I'm just like, I think we're starting to win the war. I know that sounds stupid. But then I wasn't sure. How can I be sure? I just think that. I feel that. I sense it. I'm here. You know what I mean? Like you're a cop. You know what it feels like when your street's right and when it's not right. You know? And so it was like that. So I'm just like, I'm not sure. But I think we're starting to win. And I had reasons for that. They weren't random. It was our human was going up. Why were we taking so many casualties? We were taking so many casualties because the surge was up. So we had a lot more troops, right? And up until that point, Al-Qaeda had reached pretty much one of their strongest times. But we had more troops in because we were doing the surge. And we were very aggressive. And so you lose a lot of people when you're attacking, right? So first of all, we got more soldiers to get killed. And I was out there with them, and we're being super aggressive, which is, I love that. I love aggressive units. I want to go get them, right? And then all the locals are like, they're over there, they're over there, they're over there. And we're going and killing them, man. And they're killing us too. But we're smoking their asses, right? So I'm sitting here going, well, the reason our casualties are high and the Iraqi casualties are high is because we're kicking their ass. And people are like, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, I know, it doesn't seem to. But just wait and see, and maybe I'll be wrong or maybe I'll be right. But I said it, right? And I have to live with it. And so that's what happened. And so, casualties went down. And at that point, we were clearly winning the war. And I would say we clearly actually won the war. And let's see if this sound is right. And I'm checking comments really quickly, taking a quick break to check comments. Oh, Eddie says, don't use the term retard as a negative. I'm sorry. You're right. I mean, I was taught better growing up too. And if I was around a bunch of soldiers and I said that, they'd be like, what are you talking about, man? Well, actually, someone would be like, they'll use it behind the scenes, but you shouldn't use it publicly. I get it. I know. I'm sorry. That's my fault. I apologize. So anyway, I hope you accept that. But here's the bottom line. Watch your human. I know when you go into some of these neighborhoods, nobody's ever going to give you information and they never will. It doesn't matter how good you're, because it's a cultural thing that goes back way before any of us were born. But there's other places you have to have your senses out. Am I getting less cooperation from people, or am I getting more? And one of the ways to get more cooperation from people, I know this from numerous conflicts, is to go door to door and talk with people where nobody else can see you talking with them, so they feel comfortable to talk with you, right? If you're doing it out in public in front of God and everybody, a lot of people aren't going to talk with you. But if you're off away a little bit, and I do that with cops, by the way. In Hong Kong, when I was trying to get information, sometimes, this works. I would find the cops that are away from all their buddies. They're out on the edge perimeter. That's why you'd hear, how many live streams did you hear me say, hey, I'm walking the perimeter now, right? But what you didn't see is sometimes I turn off the camera because I'd spot some cops that are out there on edge perimeter, turn it off, go talk with them. And they don't always talk, but sometimes they do. And so, you get some interesting stuff. And likewise, that works like a dream with people as well. But watch your human. If you're incoming information from the people starts to decrease, you know what that means. But anyway, bottom line is we're in a very hostile environment for, look, we're up against like CCP2. I was trying to say CNN. That was literally a Freudian slip. I was trying to say CNN and I just said CCP. And that was totally Freudian slip if there ever was one. Because, well, I mean, let's face it. And so we're not going to win CNN, period. Write them off. They're the enemy, right? Now, they're not the enemy kinetically hurt them or something, but they're enemy in a peaceful way, right? And but there's a lot of people that are somewhere in between, and that's our battle space we're fighting for. That's our swing vote, right? And so, we don't depend on mainstream media, right? Remember how I made my name really big? I did it right like this, except I wasn't doing live streams. I was just writing. I started a blog, and next thing you know, I have millions and millions of readers. It was unbelievable. Bruce Willis wanted to do that movie and all that stuff, but I stayed in combat. Anyway, so, so there was all these sorts of things. Bruce Willis wanted to play me in a movie. I was like, me? Hell, you just play Eric Carilla. I'm just a guy with a camera. But I mean, the thing is I did it without them. I didn't need CNN. Next thing you know, I was on CNN. And then they cut me off during an interview because I was, I think I was going to say something they didn't like. But I mean, and next thing you know, I'm all over international press, all over the place. What I'm saying is we don't need them. We have Twitter. We have what I'm doing now. We can get. How many people get their real information from mainstream? I actually get the bulk of a lot of the links I put up are to mainstream actually, but in reality, I'm getting most of my information from other sources. So that's our battle space. That's our media battle space we're fighting for. We want to fight for that. Write CNN off. They're always going to write bad crap about you. You could do the most perfect thing in the world, like happened in Atlanta. I mean, was that shooting justified? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. It wasn't a clear-cut murder. That's for damn sure. That guy was drunk driving. That's clear as day. He attacked 2 cops. He took one of them's weapon. I know it's just a taser, but I also know how combat goes. If you don't want to get shot, we're talking about America here, don't steal cops' weapons. That's combat. That's real combat. That's real combat, just like it's in Afghanistan. If you got a weapon on your body, everybody knows this, and somebody's trying to take that weapon or is trying to subdue you where they can get that weapon, that's real-ass combat. That's lethal combat. And I know he's running away at that point, but you know what? He's not, not to go into this, but he's in combat. At that point, he's a fleeing felon, right? Whatever. But that's not the point. We're never going to win CNN, and some people are never going to, all they see is white and black, period. And we know they're going to go down, burn down Wendy's, they're going to burn down their own town, whatever. That's those guys. But they're not the bulk of America. They're not. And it's only a small subset of people, even within the black community, that are doing that. It's only a small part. Most are super nice people, super great people, freaking astronauts, best artists in the world, best athletes in the world, scientists, doctors. They don't want all this crap. You don't see black doctors out there burning down the place. It's just like that's a small set of the people that are doing it. The support base that we're fighting for is all the rest. It's people like me, actually, who can compartmentalize. I mean, when we see a cop commit a crime, like a clear-cut crime, we're like, throw his ass in jail, right? Compartmentalize, though. But so remember, we're fighting. And this is a thing. We all got all these cameras. We all got all these right here. You can end the world with this. Every cop out there has the ability to start World War III right now. I mean, if you do something bad and Joe Schmuck is out there with this, or he can be seen bad, you know what can happen next. What's happened so far can be nothing. I mean, it can really blow the lid off, and we can really end up in a profound civil war. We're in a slight civil war now. We've been for a long time, really, but most people haven't joined battle, so it's very, very slight. But it could. But if you get enough people joining battle, these things go like a forest fire. spark, the conditions are set, spark, it doesn't matter what the spark's from. We know that. And the problem with the conditions being set now is we have, the economy's going down. And so, like I was talking with one of my special forces friends the other day, he retired from the Army. He's like, I'm comfortable now. I'm just, out shooting my guns all the time and enjoying being, retired, reading books and all that all the time. He's like, but if it comes to my town, what if I have to fight? You know what I mean? He doesn't want to fight. He wants to be retired and be happy. But what happens when so many millions of people like that, the economies crash, maybe somebody hurts a member of their family. You saw that video from Australia where that 16-year-old's getting pounded in the face. What if that was your daughter, and you knew who did that and the police aren't doing anything? What would you do? Right. And so they would not get away with it, right? And so but that is a dangerous, see, if the police don't take care of it, others will have to do it, or there'll be perpetual victims, and the crocodile gets bigger and more aggressive, and it's going to eat more kids. And that'll reach a point where there's an audible snap, and then it'll be game on, and then there'll be no turning back. And then there'll be nobody got control over it. You can get 500 Martin Luther Kings out on the street, and you're way too damn late. It's like showing up to the forest fire with one truck. You should have been there yesterday. You should have been there 3 weeks ago. You're not going to be any use after everything's burning down, right? I mean, everybody got to, work to reduce the pressure, but remember that BLM and Antifa, this is not about truth with them. This is not about we're going to find common ground, because they're making a naked step. Antifa is trying to overthrow the United States government they're trying to cause the United States to collapse and then remake it in their left-wing communist way. Black Lives Matter is making a naked stab for power. It has nothing to do with justice, has nothing to do with black lives, has nothing to do with any of that. We can all see that. It's obvious. It's a naked stab for power, and and they're using emotions on pent-up rage, which they've been, not just them, but since for decades, for some of it with real cause. But people have been fanning the flames of rage, and now there's people that want revenge, and they're going to want revenge on the color of skin that they don't like. What is that? If you know that color, then you're a racist, right? Here's the bottom line. We got to do what we can do to bring it down, and so that we don't end up in a really serious civil war where people are cutting off highways and stuff. Like, it's pretty easy to block off Minneapolis so people aren't getting food in there. You know what I'm saying? This is really crazily dangerous. There's a lot of people like in BLM and whatnot seem to think that they hold all the cards, and they don't. They might have as many guns and that sort of stuff, but they're way outnumbered, way outflanked, and way out organized, and way out a lot of things. For instance, they don't have their own medical staff. They can't make up their own clinics and things like that. They won't have the sort of if this were to go into a civil war, which is what we have to avoid at the highest level of cost. I mean, if it goes into a civil war, who's going to stop it? Because the U.S. military could actually start to split along certain lines, right? So who's going to be there to stop it? We've seen generals and admirals right now kissing ass to BLM right now. It's clear that they sense, I can't read their mind, I'm reading their actions. I believe they sense that BLM is the next power player in America, and a lot of these people want power positions. I see people out there that want power positions, and so they're out there siding openly with tear this down, rename that, do all this stuff, because they want power positions. It's about money and power. Naked stab. So look at Nancy Pelosi down on her knees, and all these other people down on their knees. It's like, it's like, this is all. Why did the Democrat Party get down on their knees? They got down on their knees because they see somebody they sense is more powerful. It's a Jedi mind trick. They're not more powerful. They're becoming more powerful because you're saying you're more powerful, which makes them actually powerful. So they're a naked terrorist organization. Same with Antifa. Bottom line, let me try to answer a couple questions, and I got to go offline because I got to prepare for this. I got to prepare for this next interview. Hey, in Orlando, John. Let me see. Kay, calling all GOP. Time to go to hell. Believe. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't appear to be a question, but more of a statement. You and Kip Moon, zeitgeist is overtly anti-white while claiming to be anti-racist. Oh, they're the ultimate racist. They're ultimate racist. If public is so easily fooled with blatant lies, what can be done with statistics? Oh, yeah. It's like, and they're so easily. This is the same sort of stuff that I've talked about since 2014 on the comfort women issue. The comfort women issue, that's a comfort women statue. You can see one in Glendale, California. You see one in San Francisco. You can see one in near Atlanta at, what's the name of that town? And they're putting them all over the place, all over the world, all over. And it's all about trying to make Koreans fight Japanese. That's why I call it KLM, Korean Lives Matter, because it's the same thing. The facts absolutely are irrelevant. It's all about emotions. It's all about trying to pull up, historical issues that have zero to do with today and fanning those up. And also there are some cultures who carry grudges longer than others, right? Like, for instance, I'm from the Scot-Irish culture, which is a culture that can actually carry super long grudges. Hatfields and McCoys. And it's funny how many people think that they understand America and they never even heard of Scot-Irish. It's like, that's like trying to understand Black Lives Matter and not knowing what black people are, right? That's how stupid it is. You can't possibly understand what's going on in America if you don't understand specifically Scot-Irish culture. That is literally like trying to understand Black Lives Matter and ignoring blacks and only paying attention to the whites are in Black Lives Matter. It's that freaking stupid. You know what I mean? Here's a book, read Born Fighting by Webb. Actually, I don't like his politics, but he knows the culture I came from. It's the Scot-Irish culture. That is actually probably the dominant culture in America, although I think maybe only about the same number of Scot-Irish descent as are African Americans. I want to say maybe 13% or something like that. It's not high, but it's like the dominant culture in the United States for some reason. Like the people that, like I believe most of the Apollo astronauts going to the moon and all that, Scot-Irish. So many Medal of Honor recipients, presidents, and it's got these super high level scientists and physicists and all that, and then actually the term that rednecks are made for, white trash, also Scot-Irish. We got something for everybody. Everything from, Homer Simpson's probably Scot-Irish. You know what I mean? So it's got everything from wife-beating drunkards to literally stepping on the moon. But you can't understand some of this dynamic unless you understand that culture, which few Americans seem to understand. And so read the book Born Fighting. That'll give you some idea, and this is one of the reasons why I'm worried so much that America will go into a civil war, because I understand my culture. My culture is both the one that started the KKK and the one who ended it. You know what I mean? They are intense people. They're the people that go to the moon, right? They're the people that strap on tons and tons of rocket fuel and light it. You know what I mean? They're unbelievable. They're very slow to get riled up. Not always, but when they do, they're really slow to calm down. So that's why I'm very concerned that we're going to get to the point where you're going to snap that old Scot-Irish thing that's in the back of their minds. Back of my mind, I come from the same culture. I understand it fluently. I understand the culture as well as I understand English. The question is, do you? That's why when I hear for instance, this journalist recently that I met in Hong Kong, trying to tell me everything he knows about America. He took one trip from Atlanta to New York one time. He doesn't know shit. He doesn't know, I mentioned Scot-Irish. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. And I'm like, okay, never mind. When you grow up a little more, read a few more books, travel around America, you got to spend some years. You got to realize that there are ingredients out here in this jungle that if they become agitated and activated, I don't know how to stop them, right? It's like a nuclear reaction. If you get it going, I don't know how to stop it. It's like playing with explosives. And that's what clearly Antifa and BLM wants to make a civil war. And if they keep going the way they are now, and remember what I said, they've clearly got some of the best information warriors in the world behind them. If they really want to get a civil war going, they're heading in the right direction, and they can do it, right? And so, and then what? How are we going to stop it? I don't know. I can't, who's the leader? Is there any leaders out? Where's all the preachers that should be out in the street? Where's all the black and white preachers that should be marching down the middle of the street, holding hands together? You know what? Because a lot of blacks and a lot of whites will listen to preachers, period. They'll listen to them. They're not going to listen to President Trump. They're not going to listen to freaking crazy-ass Biden. They're not going to, who are they going to listen to, right? The only people who are going to listen to President Trump are the people that want to vote for him. And I want to keep the border secure. That's super important. And I want to keep fighting China. So in that regard, I might have to vote for him. But it's not because I love the guy. You know what I'm saying? So, so who's going, there's no moral leadership that can cause most of the people to chill out and hold hands and go to church together and that sort of thing. I don't even go to church, but I know this guy, Officer Tatum. You ever see him? Brandon Tate. I watch some of his videos. He's a black former police officer out in Arizona, right? And I love his videos, right? I was watching one today. But listen, I was watching one of I don't even go to church, but I know that is where there's a lot of stability. That's where, like Nathan Bedford Forrest got civilized, right? That's where, when I knew somebody that I know very well, and she got divorced, and I was like, you know what? What you need is if you want a good boyfriend or whatever, find one that goes to church. She's like, you don't even go to church. I'm like, yeah, but that's what I would do. And you know what I'm saying? And so, and it's just like, get somebody with some stability, right? And so, but Officer Tatum, I'm watching him. I'm like, you know what? There's something gangster about Officer Tatum. But you know what? I'll bet somehow he ended up landing in a church. And I'm watching one of his interviews one time just a couple weeks ago, and he's like, yep, and then I started going to church, and I got saved, and then I became less, I wasn't a gangster anymore, and I went to the other way. And I was like, how did I know that? You know what I mean? And that's why he's, I don't know, he seems like a straight-up guy. And so that's what I'm getting to. We got to drag, you don't drag leaders out, right? But we have to encourage leaders, to... What leader do you have to encourage? But where are they? We need to get the black and the white preachers and the Hispanic preachers, Latinos. We need to get them out on the streets together like, hey, calm down, everybody. Of course, there's still going to be the rioters and the looters, and you're still going to be those drug addicts over in Chaz and all that. But most of the people can be brought around. And let me try to answer a couple questions, and I got to go. Polish pride. I was just reading about Michigan the other day. A lot of Polish ended up in Poland. Dzień dobry, or actually, dobra wieczór. It's nighttime. All right, so Antifa attack, man. Let's see. All right, the Ulster Scots. Right, Nicola Higgins knows what I'm talking about, Ulster Scots. That's a kind of a long story, but yeah. All right, Michael Berry says, oh, crap, I got Irish in me. I'm talking Scot-Irish, and if you look at what Nicola said, Ulster Scots, that's a different species. And it's not Scot-Irish like my mother was Scottish and my father was Irish. That's not this. It's you have to study it. And you'll see it's like a different species of human, right? And this is what's interesting. Listen to what I'm saying. A lot of people with Scot-Irish culture, they're not even white, man. They're like black. And some of them are Cherokee Indians, right? Because it was a culture that... it fused with some other cultures. And some are, like, sometimes when I meet some blacks that I knew that I grew up with and stuff, I'll be like, okay, he comes from more like the local black culture is his culture. And some of them, I'm like, he's kind of like me. He's kind of my culture. He's just the same black, and he looks the same, whatever. But it's a different culture. That's where people get confused by the suit you wear. You wear a nice suit, and everybody's like, oh, you wear a stethoscope, and everybody thinks you're a doctor. You wear dark skin, everybody thinks you're this. You wear white skin, everybody thinks you're that. That's not how it works. But with Scot-Irish, that's a very specific type of person. Listen to what Nicola said. She knows what I'm talking about. Ulster Scots. It's a long story. And I've read quite a few books on it, and since it's my culture, I mean, I just know it because I grew up with it. I know it like I know English. I mean, they make great soldiers, great astronauts, great leaders all around, scientists, and a lot of drunks and rednecks and KKK, and you know what I mean? It's all over the freaking spectrum. But the thing is if that is, those are your Second Amendment guys, right? If you meet somebody, like I can tell you, I can talk with somebody for like a few minutes and ask them just a few things, like, you know, wander into what they think about Second Amendment. If they're like, oh, Second Amendment, of course. Okay, that's possible. Okay, we're getting there. But there's a lot of people that are pro Second Amendment. There are, Scott. You know, talk, and if they say, you know, like Kevin says, Polish pride. So Kevin, I think, is probably not Scott-Irish, because Scott-Irish will never say their ethnic group. They usually won't say Scott-Irish, actually. A lot of them don't even know, because they'll introduce themselves as, I'm American, like me. I'm American. I don't say I'm Scott-Irish. I'm just saying that. That's why that's why nobody even knows what that is, hardly, right? It's because we never say that. We don't even think about it. Most of us don't even know, right? It's the culture we grew up in, but we don't even know where it came from, right? And it's a very, very interesting culture. It's a high energy culture. It's one that does not like to be pushed around. It's one that can be really patient to a point. And then the reason that they were up all over in Appalachia and all that was because, it's a long story. You need to study up on it. If you want to understand if you want to understand a lot about America's mentality, you cannot get there by trying to study white and black. That's like studying the white color on my wall. You know, it doesn't mean anything. You have to study specific cultures, and clearly, I would say the dominant culture in the United States, even without people knowing it, is Scott-Irish. Read Born Fighting by some people, like Cindy says, Scots-Irish. Some people say Scott-Irish, and some people say Scots-Irish. Cindy says, the traits of loyalty, family, pride, eagerness to fight. Oh, yeah, eagerness to fight. You can hear it with me. And self-sustainability, exactly, are enduring traits that can be applied to today's descendants of Scott-Irish settlers. Exactly. I mean, like I saw somebody come on my Facebook not long ago, and he was a soldier that I was with in Afghanistan. And he said that we came in, we got into contact or something with the enemy, and for whatever reason, he left a comment on my Facebook. He's like, you know, we were going to pull back, and he said I was getting angry. I was in the truck with him, you know, because we were, I guess, getting shot at or something. I don't remember. He goes, you got angry because you wanted to go kill the enemy. And I was like, that's me. I mean, I was often like, why are we going, man? Let's go get them, man. They're shooting at us. We know where they're at. Let's go smoke their asses, right? I mean, not go through an IED field to get it, but that's Scott-Irish. That's like why some dogs hunt and some dogs don't. It's like, I don't know if it's genetic. I don't know if it's cultural. I don't know if it's both. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, but it's a definite, like, you know, dog hunts, you know. And so that's why I'm very concerned if we get into a civil war. A lot of those hunting dogs will come out, and I don't know how to get them back in the pen. I mean, they're Scott-Irish, a lot of them. And, you know, if you hurt their family, like I see this girl that just got beat up in Australia. I'm like, gee, man, you do that in some parts of America, and they'll need the National Guard to pull the Scott-Irish back. I mean, they'll have to be shooting at the Scott-Irish. They'll come out there with 10,000 guns. You do that in some towns, it ain't gonna be Black Lives Matter dominating the street. It'll be bodies all over the place. I mean, we got to stop this. We got to calm it down before it gets there. And it's clear that Antifa and some others want to cause that to happen. So what would you do if you wanted to cause it to happen? It's not rocket science. And so there you go. Nega says, UK culture doesn't believe in God. They raised at school by listening. Yeah. I don't even go to church. But I'm going to tell you one thing. I know where I can find trustworthy people. I know where I can find, like, if I wanted to get this thing calmed down, I want to get all the preachers out here, Latinos, Mexican. I want to get the black and the white preachers all out talking together and saying, hey, stop. Hey, calm down. You know what I mean? And a lot of people will listen. I don't even go to church, and I'll listen. You know what I'm saying? Actually, you know who I listen to the most? Might sound crazy, but it's black preachers. Ever since I was a kid. I even put that in my first book, Danger Close. Speaking of which, I put something about that in my book, Danger Close. Actually, if you read that book, you'll see part of how much I grew up with blacks. This is me growing up in Florida, right? And actually, that's me, the little one there, next to that soldier. And that's the first photo I took in Iraq, or first photo I published. That's a sniper. He's still a friend of mine, by the way. And that was in Bakuba. But anyway, yeah, actually, I grew up with blacks since we were all puppies together. I mean, I don't know life without black people. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are like, oh, you say you got black friends. I'm like, shut up, man. That's like saying, a black person can't have white friends. That's the stupidest thing in the world. We grew up together. We were literally like puppies together. When my mother died, I was partially raised by a black woman. When the Liberty City riots broke out in Miami, look those up. It was game on. I was going down from my hometown with a black family because they're our friends. And so I was going down, they're Jamaican. So we were going from my town, Winter Haven, driving down to Liberty City. Stuff was burning everywhere. They were killing white people. They were killing black people. It was game on. It was like the worst. And so the Jamaican family, they were like, hide that little blonde head down. That was back when I had hair. So I'm hiding in the car because, if the people see me, they're going to kill me, And so we went to their home, Jamaicans, and then they sneaked me in real quick. We're into the house, And then we go to the backyard, and they got a goat because, the Jamaicans, they killed a goat. We ate the goat. I mean, so that's how I grew up. I mean, I grew up with blacks since I was a little kid. So it's funny to me when blacks are like, you can't understand black culture. I'm like, oh, just shut up, man. That's like me telling you can't understand any kind of white culture. That's stupid. You can. You can understand it very well. But there's many white cultures, many black. There's no such thing as white culture or black culture. There's all kinds of them, right? Even if you just move 5 miles away, the culture can be dramatically different. Anyway. Think about that wherever you live. Think about 5 miles from you, is there a different culture? I'll guarantee you a lot of people watching this will go, well, come to think of it, yeah. In fact, they speak a different language. You know what I mean? So here, let me try to answer a couple questions, and I'm going to go. Gary says, love Danger Close. All right, man. It's a great book. I should read part of it, but I can't do it now. I got to study for this interview with Gordon Chang, and he always asks hard questions. So I got to call some folks in Hong Kong. Brad Blouser says, Bakuba took a lot of incoming fob. Lion was just down the street. Oh, yeah, we're getting shot at all the time. Kevin Greenleaf says, I sent you the video of that Antifa scumbag being shot by the concealed carry permit holder in New Mexico. Oh, I saw that. Was that Antifa? And they just arrested and charged him as well. They charged the guy that shot him with what? I mean, they were saying on the video, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Gordon Jackson says, hey, Michael, if you grew up in our climate, you'd know why we were born angry. Jackson, your last name's Jackson. Well, let me guess, you're Scottish. Yeah, because Andrew Jackson was Scot-Irish. And, he was, pretty serious warrior and a little half crazy. Because, Scot-Irish tend to be kind of, half crazy. They're the ones that'll go to the moon. They're literally, a lot of them did. And I would say a third of our presidents probably are Scot-Irish. I think that's safe. I think, like Houston is named after Scot-Irish. I think many of our towns are actually named after Scot-Irish. Who knew a lot about Scot-Irish was actually Gary the Cannibal, because he grew up in Houston. And anyway, long story. Let's see. William Joshua Stetson. I have a bad feeling a worldwide bloodletting is coming. It could. Look at all the hot spots now that can go live anytime. Israel and Iran, Turkey and all their machinations in the Eastern Med, China and India. Oh yeah. It's a hot time. Hello in Westminster, Maryland. I went to jail up in Maryland once. Let's see. Gordon Jackson. Let's see. Pam, I carry from my mother's womb a fanatic heart. Well, let me guess. Are you Scott Irish? You know what's interesting? I mentioned this once before. We were all, unless you're a test tube baby, we were actually in our grandmother's body, because when our mothers are still unborn, all the eggs that they're going to have, in almost all cases from what I've read, they've already got in their body. Like, our mothers already have all the eggs in their body that they're going to have when they're born. And so our mothers had all the eggs in their bodies that made us when they were still in our grandmother's body. Isn't that interesting? Huh. Speaking of stuff like that, one of my relatives just got surgery yesterday in Thailand, and the surgeon sent a movie of it, like high definition, like inside the body with music and stuff. Kind of freaked me out. It's kind of hard to freak me out. I'm a war correspondent. I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be a video of rolling her into the surgery and she would be like waving and stuff. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, this is like high definition inside of her body surgery, and they got like music like playing in the background and stuff. And then it's like labeling all the body parts. And I was like, oh my, well, I love Thailand. You never know what's next. I'll tell you that. That was a surprise. That was my coffee for the morning. Let me, how many days left to go tell if the virus is real? I'd say it's pretty real. I mean, it's it's killing a lot of people. I don't mean to laugh about that. Hey, in Yokohama, Mark K. and let's see, Kevin Greenleaf. He was jailed on suspicion of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. Let's see. Well, all right. Let me go ahead. I'm going to look for one or two more questions. Yeah, Kevin says, agreed. I'm American with Polish heritage. Yeah, because I can tell. Because people, actually, you know what's interesting about people with Polish heritage? Then ask your grandparents or whatever generation came over. Often when they came over, they were immigrants. They didn't become ethnic groups until later, after being kind of named that. And by the way, I don't know if you know this because it's changed now, but the second worst treated group in America was Polish people, not blacks. Well, Irish would argue Irish. And they would actually have a good argument there. Irish would have a very solid argument. Well, of course, Native Americans, but I mean of the immigrants and the slaves, because a lot of Irish were slaves too. And but Polish got treated really badly. But Polish, fantastic Americans. Polish, I'll take a bunch more right now. These are fish that mix well in the same aquarium. Speaking of which, if this were to, heaven forbid, go into a civil war, you're Polish descent, so I'm going to guess your lineage went up to Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois area, right? Probably, if you're Polish. If my background on so many ethnicities in America is right, or immigration actually, because they become kind of ethnicities later. Really, it's kind of a weird thing. And but up there, like in Dearborn now, and Hamtramck, it's called Hamtramck, right? It's near Dearborn, not too far away. But I mean, a lot of the Polish have been kind of moved out because it's a lot of Muslims have moved in, and a lot of those are Deobandi. Listen to what I just said. Write it down. Deobandi. Study that. You're going to face them one day, right? How often am I wrong on stuff like this? Deobandi. Look it up. TJ. Yep. We're going to be facing them. TJ. All right. Pay attention. And if this were to go into a civil war, we will be facing them for sure. For sure. It's as sure as tomorrow's sunrise. Pam says, Scott Irish, that's my family's history. You are spot on about the culture. It's a great culture. It can be a rough culture. It can be like the greatest people in the world, and seriously, people you don't want to be in the same town with. I mean, it's really, really like that. They're like the greatest and the worst people in the world. That's where I came from. That's what it is. Waldemar Malik. Yes, everybody that does not belong in a community is being intimidated. Where are you at that you're saying that? Where are you at, Waldemar? Or Valdemar, probably is how you pronounce your name. Greg McVerter, spelled, couldn't. Oh, Dale Bondi, Delta Echo Oscar, B-A-N-D, B-A-N-D-I. D-E-O-B-A-N-D-I. Dale Bondi. Here, I got technology here, man. I should use it. Oh. Oh, yeah. You'll face them. You'll face them. I will, too. It's going to be, and it's not going to be in a nice way. Now, keep in mind, when we talk about Muslims, there's many different types. That's like talking about Christians, right? What kind of Christian are you talking about? You know what I mean? And also there's the cultural substrate, right? There's the, let me turn this back on the camera. Like, for instance, let's say Catholic, right? Catholic versus Protestant. That's like Sunni versus Shia of the Christian world, you know? Not to get into whether Catholics or Christians, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, the people argue about that until they start fighting each other. But you know, Catholics and Protestants fighting each other for so long. And so many other groups in Europe. Europe has been the Middle East and, you know, sort of level fighting for a long time, until World War II and America stationed troops there. Europe was worse than the Middle East. We always look at the Middle East now, we're like, oh, that's complicated, they never stopped fighting. Just rewind the tapes back to World War II. There's a reason we had two world wars in Europe in 1 century. I mean, Europeans freaking kill each other. I mean, they're a lot worse than the Middle East when there's no something. It'll happen again. I mean, you can smell it already. I was looking at a German soldier today. He's speaking German, or I would have put the video up. But he's wearing his uniform, and he's like going off, man. I speak German, so I could watch. So he was just like, he's very upset at the situation. I'm like, here it comes. We all, and so, but you know, when I talk about Muslims, there's many different types. We all know that. And there's the cultural substrate, which is massively important. Like if you talk about Catholic, what does that mean? What does it mean? What does it mean to you, right? Or Irish Catholic, or Mexican Catholic, or Korean Catholic, or Thai Catholic. There's Catholics who are Thai in Chiang Mai. They're Thai. Their substrate culture is Thai. And then there's Koreans. Then there's German Catholics. There's Italian Catholics, right? So the substrate culture is a huge, people, that's why people, they talk about, oh, that's a Muslim, he must think so-and-so. You don't know what culture are they from? You know what I mean? The culture is very important, super important. And so you can't pull these apart. It's impossible. You can't, there is no pure religion. It's like there's no pure water in a lake. You know what I mean? It's like, it's always mixed with something. You know what I mean? What's it mixed with? I don't know. Yeah, that's right, Greg. They're Indian Muslims, in Pakistan too. And they'll mostly speak Urdu or Pashtun, not Arabic. Let's see. I'm sorry, my cat just did something. Suzanne Grazier says, the streets are burning now. They mean business. Where are they burning at now? Project. Well, you know, I got to study for my interview, because otherwise they're gonna ask me something, and you'll be listening to my interview, and you'll be like, he didn't know the answer to that. And the reason why is because I was talking too much with y'all instead of studying. Yeah, definitely study that, Gary. Yeah, Jim, that's right. Waldemar, sorry, just pop in. I mean that some people own nation ghettos. Oh, yeah. See, that's a problem. I'm going to say another thing. See, Waldemar, he says this tiny little sentence here, but you can unpack that into like a book. I mean, like Waldemar says, sorry, just pop in. I mean that some people create their own nation ghettos. Yes. that sounds like a tiny little thing you said. It's huge. That expands to the size of the country. I mean, like, that's why the opening of the borders, like completely wide open, letting just millions of people, that's the stupidest thing you can ever do. They're going to stay together. You know what I mean? That's what we do as people. Almost, if you let me, if the gates just open somewhere, I would naturally either go with Americans or go with Thai people, or I might go with Germans or something because I speak German. But I'm going to go with somebody that I feel quite comfortable with. I'm not going to just jump out of, I'm going to tend to stick with them, even though I've traveled all over the world, but we'll even go in little bubbles like that, right? And so, and that's a problem. When we let a huge amount of people come in, they end up in their little ethnic enclaves. Now, some of them, like Polish, they had the ethnic enclave, but they actually became Americans very quickly and served in the military, great soldiers, business people, politicians, they're everywhere. I love Polish people. They became Americans. But some do this and they become more than what they were. Like, for instance, a lot of the Islamic future terrorism that we're going to have in America, I'm quite sure of this, just like in Europe. It's not even their parents' generation. Their parents may have been actually kind of moderate. Then they get over to our places, and then the children, they either become American or something else, or they often become very radicalized. And a lot of that's, for instance, from like Saudi money. And other people, like super rich people, building. First, they'll come in and put a learning center, is how they do it. Like look in Dearborn or Hamtramck up in Michigan. For people that live up there, you know what I'm saying. At first, they come in and they put a community center, and then a school, and then a mosque, right? And then the next thing you know, there'll be like 20 or 30 mosques, and they start forcing people out. And so if they didn't force people out, nobody would notice. But then, terrorism happens as well. I mean, what I'm saying is probably going to get me kicked off of Facebook and YouTube. If I get kicked off of Facebook and YouTube, I'll shoot over to Twitter, and then I'll tell you, and then I'll go over to Locals. There's this other thing called Locals. I'll go to that. And I got that idea from Scott Adams. I'll go to Locals because they won't kick me off of Locals, and then I can talk really straight. I can talk like as straight as I can talk like if we were alone, because they'll kick me off of Facebook if I talk too straight, and they'll kick me off of YouTube as well. But we can go to Locals. But a problem with Locals is I think you have to pay, but I think you can pay like, I don't know, $1 a month or something. I'm not sure about that. But I've just kind of looked a little bit, but I haven't set anything up there. But if they kick me off of Facebook for saying what I just said, which is, nothing, but for them, this is like way over the top, then I'll go ahead and start over on Locals. And I'll go to Twitter. I have a Twitter account. I'll tell you where I'm at and put the link. So I know a lot of people don't like Twitter, and I don't either, but I don't like Facebook either. Hey, Lois, radicalization. That's right. They do huge radicalization. Toy says, Sheldon Campbell, it's in support of police officers who've been killed in line of duty. You must be talking about something that I missed. Hey, Wei Sean, good evening, sir. Got some low-level echo going. Uh-oh. Wonder why. All right. Let's go ahead and kick off now, and I hope it's been educational. Please share it out. And if you have extra change laying around, I am going to come back. Flight should be opening up in about 2 more weeks. There's no flights out of Thailand. Now, people leave comments on my Facebook like, there are flights out of Thailand. I'm like, okay, give me a flight number, man, because I keep trying to get one. There's no flights out of Thailand, all right? So don't tell me there's flights out of Thailand. Give me the flight number and the date, and I'll go get it. so check before putting that stuff up. Go to Parler. I've never heard of that. VK won't boot you. Tommy Robinson uses it as well. What's VK? VK. Is that Sudan for something, or is that something else? Sound is good. All right, Lois. Some interesting stuff. A lot of it towards the beginning. Graham Holloway, here is a curved ball. a guy featured as Dave for Truth in Australia claims that microwaves are being used to control the weather. All right, whatever. Let's see. Yeah, Greg McWhorter says Facebook is the most racist platform in the world. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Suzanne says, Parler's pretty good. BitChute. I've heard of BitChute, but I have not used it. Let me write that down. Suzanne. BitChute. Okay. Anyway, if they kick me off, they probably got their out. Because, when I'm talking, it's automatically transcribing in their computer. It's doing, vocal recognition. So, Mike Wolf says, that's breaking the law by changing the American flag. Okay. Isaac Ireland. It's a super interesting to go to the section of state in Old Dearborn. Oh, yeah, it's Dearborn. Man. I was looking at Dearborn on Google Earth the other day. Interesting. We're going to have trouble. And we're going to have trouble. And it's because too many people have just gone, oh, no, they fall down. Oh, they called me a racist. No, I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. It's just like, is your race card, is it finished for you? I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't even want to hear it. When somebody calls me a racist, I'm like, and you're stupid, blocked. I don't even want to see them again. You know what I mean? It's like they throw that around, and we got to, when somebody calls you a racist, just block it. Just block them. And we start shutting people off like that, then they won't, when they realize that not only does that card not spend anymore, but as soon as you use that card, if it's not correct, if you're wrong, I'm going to shut you off forever. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people that we want to listen to that actually use their brain and don't try to use intimidation. And that intimidation, though, worked for years for a lot of people. It's marginalized me because I've never given into it. It's that Scott Irish thing. I don't care, man. Call me a racist. I know I'm not, I got all kinds of people from different races in my family, and guess what? And I'm quite happy. Let's see. Carolyn says, Facebook's automatic transcription is so bad they probably wouldn't understand what you said anyway. Probably wouldn't. Okay, Mike Wolf says, if you're a cop crying at this point in time, you're a Nazi Gestapo pig. Okay, as soon as I get offline, I'm going to block you because I can't block it right here. But I'm going to block you because I'm tired of trash like you. I called you trash. That's what I said. I'm tired of people like you. You're the kind of people that are leading us into conflict. You're the kind of people that are leading us into war. I don't want to see your face. I don't want to hear your voice. You're the kind of people that have led to this problem. I want nothing to do with you. Nothing. I'm going to block you as soon as I go offline. I have to go offline to do it. All right. When will I be on next, Lois asked. I don't know. Let's see. My interview is at about 1:45 in the morning here, so that's about less than about 6 hours or something like that from now. And I need to study for 2 or 3 hours. If I come on before... earliest would be 12 more hours. Probably the earliest, unless something really important comes up. All right. All righty then. No, Greg, he's just calling people Nazis and stuff. And writing in all caps, you know what I mean? Like he's losing his brain. All right, guys. And if there's any questions, I will try to come back. No guarantees, but I will try to come back and hit any questions I didn't see because there was a lot up top that I didn't actually see. All right. And let me close it off here. How do I shut this thing off? All right, here we go. Mic out. Okay. End broadcast.